Hello and welcome to the Voice Den episode number 16. So great to see so many friends already in the chat. This is so much fun. Thank you for joining us again. If you don't know me, my name is Teri Fisher and I'm the host, but that doesn't matter because we're really here to listen and learn and talk to the Voicefluencers, and we have an incredible group of people as always. All right. As we like to do here, we've got to do the quick Voice Den hello and welcome. And I would love to know where you are. So please put it in the chat. And if you're drinking something, as always, we got to know that. What are you drinking? And if you're new as well, let us know that, because we really want to welcome you, particularly a special welcome if you are new to the Voice Den and new to the Voice family. So let's have a look here. I see Leslie, great to see you from Australia over on the other side of the world. And Jamie's here. Awesome, Jamie. And well, Nigel's here. We're going to hear more from Nigel in just a moment. Tampa, there's Ian from his treehouse. Heidi's in Naples. All right, this is amazing. Larry. Okay, so I know where some of you people are, but is anybody drinking anything really exciting? Because that's what we want to know. Is anybody drinking anything exciting? Colin, he's in Chicago. All right. And Bradley's in Chicago as well. Haiti. Oh, that's pretty cool. Awesome. Dana's in San Diego. Drinking coffee. All right. I have water. That's pretty boring. That's the way it goes today. All right, so let's get to some business here. I'll try to keep an eye on the chat here as we go along too, to see if anybody's drinking anything exciting here. First of all, I want to give a huge thank you to our sponsors. As always, our sponsors have been tremendous, absolutely tremendous. We have, of course, Amazon Alexa. And for those of you that are not aware, Amazon does have a Slack channel for the developer community. And if you're not part of that, I encourage you to check that out. You get all the technical information you need, get questions answered. And I'm going to put the link in the chat, as always, so that you can access that Slack channel directly. So big thanks to Amazon Alexa for being one of our headliner sponsors. As well, of course, big thanks to Google for being a headliner sponsor as well. As you know, Google and Modev partner, and they put on these incredible talks called Voice Talks. And that's got special significance today because the new host of Voice Talks, Megan, is one of our Voicefluencers, and her debut as the new host is tomorrow. So I'm going to put the link as well to, that's a special Voice Den link, but it'll take you to Voice Talks. And then you can sign up and you'll hear the latest show. Fantastic. I'm super excited too, really honored that I get to be on that show just for a little bit as well tomorrow. So I get to have a chat with Megan, and we kind of turn the table, or she turns the tables on me, I suppose. I'm the host today. She's the host tomorrow. So there we go. And as well, of course, we've got our partners, Attention Live, who helps with all the NFTs, promotion, Audio Brain, who does all the sonic branding that you hear, and Spatial Web, who they're the company, the incredible company that we use for the augmented reality spatial audio party. So thank you to all of you as well. Okay, let's get to why you're all here. We have to do some introductions. And as I mentioned, we've got an incredible group of Voicefluencers. So let me tell you a little bit about these Voicefluencers as if they need any introduction. We have Emily Banzhaf. She is a conversational AI designer. I'm going to get tired reading her bio because she's doing so much right now. She's one of the hosts of VoiceSpark Live. She's a member of the Open Voice Network. She's working with the Ethical Use Task Force and Designer Strategist communities. She was part of the winning team of Digital Assistant Academy's Hackathon. And before transitioning, she was a professional violinist performing all over the world. So it is so great to have you, Emily, here. And we're going to get you up here in just a moment. All right. Next up, we have Colin, the operator, Colin Barnes. He got into voice tech initially while in the financial ops department of VaynerMedia, which is really interesting because Gary Vaynerchuk was a big influence on me getting involved in voice. Colin then went on to invest in audio, voice, and conversational tech startups at Voice Punch before joining the team at Speechly to lead the business development efforts. So Colin, great to have you here as well. Next, we have Megan Grace. So Megan leads the global communications partnerships for Google Assistant. As I mentioned, she also hosts the Webby winning program Voice Talks. And this is a monthly online series showcasing the latest experts with the next episode tomorrow. Megan began her now 7 years at Google on the legal team, where she negotiated Google Assistant deals. Her interest in voice AI and relationship building brought her to partnerships where she now works with top global brands like Zoom and Snap to launch voice-forward video calling and messaging experiences. So it's awesome to have you here as well, Megan. The unicorn. Susan Westwater, we met a number of years ago at one of the conferences, and she's one of these people that is doing so much in the voice space. She's the CEO and co-founder of Pragmatic Digital, a firm that helps brands develop and execute strategies that create the right voice experience for the right audience. She also is a co-founder of VoiceMasters.ai, an instructor at the Marketing AI Institute's AI Academy, an ambassador and community moderator for the Open Voice Network, and co-author of Voice Strategy, Creating Useful and Usable Experiences and Voice Marketing, which is going to be coming out in 2022. So great to have you here, Susan. And we have Nigel Wright, Gratitude Champion. Nigel is an incredible guy. And I actually met Nigel not too long ago on Clubhouse. Nigel is a combination of small island hospitality meeting urban necessity. He's a Brooklyn Trinidadian combo of grateful heart, practically human technologist by trade, a writer, and voice of the disenfranchised. He's a Fortune 100 consultant that turned artist entrepreneur, and he helps brands keep their hands on humanity while implementing the latest in tech and automation. His consulting experiences include JP Morgan Chase, the New York Stock Exchange, Ernst & Young, ADP, and Simon & Schuster. And he is a voice diversity champion and an active open voice network contributor to tech ethics and standards. If you know Nigel, you know he is a passionate guy about voice and voice diversity and inclusion, and it's an absolute pleasure to have him here as well. So with that being said, I'm going to invite all of our voicefluencers on stage to say hello. In the meantime, the way this works, we've got the Ask a Question button at the bottom. Please feel free to start typing in your questions right now for any of these voicefluencers. If you've got a question for a specific one, then please put their name there, ask the questions, and then everybody else, check out that Ask a Question box because you can vote on your favorite questions, and we'll see who wins. We'll see who's got the best question. So start writing in your questions there, and we're going to get to those in just a moment. All right, I'm going to invite everybody up on stage here so that everybody can say hi, and then we're going to get your questions. So here's where the juggling comes in as I invite everybody up. All right, and I think we've got one more to invite. All right, fantastic. Okay, we'll start in the order that I see you on the screen as they're coming up. So Emily, great to have you here. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. It's so great to be here. This was actually the first voice event that I attended when I transitioned over to voice. So it's just, I'm so honored to be here.
Oh, that's amazing. That's amazing. I'm so happy to hear that. So Emily, you've got a really interesting background with regards to the violin. So I wonder if you can just tell us a little bit about that. And you've performed like on some pretty big stages as well. Yes.
So I've done some pretty cool performances. So I made the transition last year to voice. I was a professional violinist. I was doing chamber music, orchestra, solo stuff. And I've been on some TV shows and done some cool recordings and stuff. But yeah, so that's kind of where my name, the Sonic Connector, comes from because I basically am creating sonic experiences for people. And yeah.
It's awesome. I'm like, and I mentioned this to you previously, but I'm amazed at how many people come from a creative background into voice. There's something about it that just lends itself so well. So we are going to get to hear more from you very shortly. Thank you so much for being here, Emily. Really appreciate that. Susan, over to you. Welcome. It's great to have you here as well. The unicorn. What's the deal with the unicorn?
There's a couple stories behind it. First of all, there's the fun version where the unicorn is the only animal that can take down the lion in mythology from Scotland to England. So it's sort of being Scottish. Cool. But also from a professional standpoint, there was a really good friend of ours who had said, you guys are kind of unicorns because you do UX, you come from that digital perspective, and you do content and business. So you're kind of like a unicorn. So that was kind of where it came from. So that's why we have the dabbing unicorn, which of course I cannot find on my desk at this moment. Actually, I can. That's why we've also got, it's become our unofficial logo. Of course, this is the limited edition one we wanted to give out, and then we never got to see anyone ever again in 2020. So hopefully in December or even October, we'll get to hand these out.
Awesome. Yes, yes. So that is great. Thank you, Susan. Susan, as I said, you're doing so much in the voice space, so it's a real pleasure and honor to have you here. So
it's awesome to be here, and glad we finally could make it work.
Awesome. Over to you, Megan. Megan, first of all, welcome to like the sort of I guess the public voice community, if you will, as the new host of Voice Talks. That's so amazing. How are you?
Oh, thank you. I am so excited. I have been watching Voice Talks since its first episode and just thought it was so cool. I thought my colleague Sophia Altuna did such a fabulous job kicking it off and building just this great group of viewers. And, you know, we get to hear from all these experts and everything. And now I feel like I get a front row seat in on all of that action. So I'm so stoked.
Awesome. And then your nickname, you have the Business Builder. What's that? Like, why that?
Well, I thought the alliteration was kind of fun, but really, this was one of the hardest assignments I've had in memory, to be honest, was creating the moniker. I just feel like you can go so many different directions, but I thought that it aligns with what I'm doing now, which is working in the business development side of the house. And it's really just about like launching and scaling really awesome experiences with voice. So kind of building the business with voice.
Amazing. Well, we are all going to be hearing more from you today and tomorrow and for months to come. So I'm really excited about that. So awesome.
And we're excited to hear more from you when you're on the show tomorrow, Teri.
Thanks. That'll be fun. Collin, over to you, my friend. Thank you for being here. And you've got a very interesting name as well, the Operator. I like that. What's the deal with that?
Yeah, I think for better or worse, I kind of learn by doing. So I like to just get my hands into a lot of different things, try a lot of different things, and yeah, that's where I think the term the operator comes from. At least my definition of it.
Awesome. Well, that's fantastic. And again, thank you for being here. I was looking at your bio, and you're like your interesting fact is you were flipping iPhones in high school. For me, I'm going to date myself here. If I was to have the similar statement, it would be I was flipping Palm Pilots. So not quite the same, but anyway, just dated myself there. So, but that's pretty cool. You were flipping iPhones. How did you manage to get your hand on the iPhones, or you just did it?
Yeah, well, I think my first iPhone or my first phone was the 3GS or something like that, going into high school. But it was at like the same time the 4 came out, and I noticed there was this arbitrage opportunity. Like if you sell the iPhone online, the 3GS, you could still break the contract and afford the 4. So like, hey mom, I'm making $200 or $300 to get the new phone. Like it all works. And next thing you know, I found a way to have some money for the weekends as well.
I can see why you worked for VaynerMedia talking about arbitrage and flipping things. Like I'm sure you fit in perfectly there. So that's awesome. That's great. Now, thanks for being here, Colin. Really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
We have been having some technical issues with getting Nigel on screen here. So Nigel, I'm going to just continue to watch for you, and we can watch for updates in the chat as well. I'll set my phone if that helps. But what would a live show be without some kind of technical difficulty? So we will do our best to work that out. Now, I encourage everybody. So we've got these tremendous personalities here in the voice space with so much experience. And I encourage you to ask your questions so that we can feature their knowledge and help you. If there's something that you want to learn about, something that you want to pick their brain about, here is the opportunity. What I would love to do is I'm going to kick things off, and I think I'm going to keep on stage Emily and Megan, being the two of you actually are now have been and are now host of a couple of shows. So I think we could start off with talking about hosting shows in voice, and then I'll encourage everybody else to start putting those questions and voting. So I'm going to say bye to Susan and Collin for now. Bye-bye for now. All right. Awesome. And let's see here. Okay. So then I have to put the timer on myself. This is the way this works around here. So Here we go. So I'm gonna, and then we'll get 5 minutes, and I just like to have a discussion about what it's like to be a host, and you know, what do you bring to the voice community, or what do you like to highlight about? What do you like to talk about in the voice community? What's the purpose of your role as the host in the voice community? That makes sense. So why don't we start off with you, Emily, and we'll kick things off here. Go, yeah.
Sure.
The floor is yours.
Okay.
And tell us the show that you host as well.
Sure. So I host, I'm one of the hosts of Voice Spark Live. So we help people get the most out of their voice-enabled devices. We review skills and actions, and we talk about the latest voice news, and we talk to people, the top people in the voice field that are doing a lot of things in the space. So it's been a lot of fun. Hosting is definitely different for me because I do come from a music background and music performance too, but I have a violin, so I'm never talking. So this was a new experience for me, but I'm really enjoying it. And I've been learning so much from everyone that's been on the show. And it's just been so much fun.
Amazing. Yeah. How about you, Megan? So tell us your story. Like, how did you get into become the host, and what do you see the purpose of Voice Talks in your role in there?
Oh yeah. Well, I got really lucky as far as landing the host job for Voice Talks. Sophia, in impressive form as always, headed off to Harvard Business School, which left the position available. And I think I had just been sort of in the team's ear for some time, since I was a total fangirl of the program and thought it was really cool what they were doing. So, we started talking about what it might look like if I took over, and it just was a really great fit, and it came at a good time. I had some bandwidth to do it, and there was this opportunity. So we kind of launched ahead with that. And I would agree with everything that Emily said. I think what's interesting for me now is I'm in this exercise of, answering that very question, Teri, is does it mean to be a good host, and what do I want my particular role to take on? I think, again, Sophia was just so phenomenal and was such a natural. And there are a lot of ways I want to emulate her. And then I think there are a lot of ways that the show, having now been established for some time, can continue to grow. And maybe there are things that we want to expand off of what, that first iteration looked like. So it's kind of an exciting exercise to figure that out. I think the things that kind of come to mind for me now are just being a really good student. I don't think of myself as much as a voice expert on the program as much as a conduit to the experts. So I want to make sure that we're asking them the right questions and giving them enough time to dig into their amazing subject expertise. And everyone here knows that voice is just the most amazing paradigm shift, and there's so much potential and upside here. And we have incredible experts out in the space that are doing a lot of different things. So my job is not as much to be an expert in my own right, I would say, as to make way for those experts and make sure that they're getting this chance to be highlighted and that the community can find out about the cool things that they're working on. And then just having kind of a passion for the space and a passion for connecting others and kind of communicating is really important and helps keep it engaging, because we really want that energy to stay up the whole time so that people continue watching and they want to come back for more. And they trust that we are compiling sort of the best and most interesting folks in the industry, in that respective episode. So a lot of interesting food for thought there, but it's definitely, a question I'm continuing to think about.
Yeah, it's great. I see that. I'm just looking at some of the comments here in the chat. Ernie says, when hosting events, I find it's more important to ask smarter questions and to have the correct answers.
Absolutely.
Any thoughts on that? Yeah, Emily?
Yeah, I do a lot of preparation before each show, and I make sure I know a lot about who's coming on, what the skills that we're reviewing, just so I make sure I bring something new to the table every time, and just so that people are learning just as much as I am. Yeah.
Awesome. And then the last, Steve here asks, here's a smart question. What does the spectrograms behind Megan say on the wall?
Oh my goodness. So this is a deep cut, if you will. It's very niche. But so for the program, I had the benefit of kind of getting to spruce up my office here at home. I live in the North Bay, in the Bay Area. And the new producer of Voice Talks ordered this, I think it's called a sonograph, or I couldn't even tell you what the exact term for it is, but it is a sonograph representation of the song I think it's called Everclear or Everlore by the Foo Fighters, which is really sweet because his wife walked down the aisle to the song. But short story is, you know, it has a lot of meaning to the producer of the show, and I just get this cool backdrop for the program.
Very, very cool. That's a great story. Good, and good eye, Steve, to pick that up. Very, very impressive. Awesome, awesome. All right, well, that's great. That was a fun way to kick things off. Thank you for thanks for that chat, Emily and Megan. That was great. All right, we've got a couple of questions here that are starting to come in. So let's dive into this. What I'll do is I'm going to say goodbye to the two of you for now, and we'll see you back up here shortly. Okay. I would really like to invite Melissa up onto stage to share her question. So I'm going to invite you on stage, Melissa. It's a very interesting question about digital accessibility. So I'm going to invite you up on stage, and I'm going to attempt to see if we can bring up Nigel. I'd love Nigel to be able to answer this. If not, then I'd love to bring up, I'm just trying to see if we can get Nigel up here. I'm also going to bring up Susan and Colin and give some insight into perhaps their experience with voice and accessibility and some of the technology. So I'm not sure if we're going to be able to bring Nigel up or not. I'll try one more time here. Okay. And all right. Hello, Susan.
Hello.
Hello, Colin.
Hey.
And it says Melissa's accepting, so we're going to give her just a second here. Interesting discussion about sort of accessibility and the role that voice can play in that. Give her just a few more seconds here. If for some reason there's trouble coming up, Melissa, we can actually I've got the question that you typed in, so I can ask that question on your behalf. Just maybe a few more seconds here. I'm not sure if that's going to work. Well, Melissa, let me ask the question for you, and if you're able to join us on screen, fantastic, and then we will get your take on it as well. For the time being, then why don't I just ask the question? And oh,
We got Nigel.
we got Nigel. All right, this is going to be a three-way answer. Then here we go. So the question, folks, is it's from Melissa Green. I'm blind and wear hearing aids. I'm a digital accessibility consultant with life experience. Can I add voice influencing to my niche? Interesting question. Who wants to start with that one?
I'll pass that off to Susan and Nigel. I think this might be
I was
outside.
gonna, yeah. I want to give Nigel a chance since he's been working so hard to get online, and then we can.
Nigel,
from there.
are you able to? Can you hear us? And can you answer that? Did you get the question? Oh, nope. We're having some issues there. No worries. So let me go back.
Can you hear me?
Oh, we can hear you. Yes, Nigel. We can hear you, Nigel. We can hear you.
Okay. I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think. Okay, good.
We can hear you.
Hopefully that'll work now. I
Yeah.
did some jerry rigging and moving around.
Perfect.
Good.
Did you get
Sorry
the
about
question?
that.
Did you get the question there? So the
No,
question
I
is
did
about.
not.
Okay, so the question is about from Melissa. She says that she's blind and wears hearing aids, and she's a digital accessibility consultant with life experience. How can she incorporate like voice into what she does as a digital accessibility consultant? Did you catch that?
Me.
Maybe I can take a stab at it.
I think the first thing is to engage as many people. Can you hear me?
We can. Yep.
Are you hearing me?
Yep.
I think that the first thing is to engage as many people with that same challenge as possible. That would be my my first thing. I mean, make sure they are the people your decisions impact should be your greatest audience. I think that one of the big concerns that I feel all the time is when we talk about fixes and solutions and we're not part of the demographic, and we're not engaging enough people that are part of the demographic, I feel like becomes a huge issue in getting it solved. So that's what I would do.
Great. Thank you, Nigel. Colin, do you want to just share some of your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think it might be tough to know exactly what like digital accessibility consultant means, or exactly what voice influencing might mean as well. However, I would say that voice, whether it's on the input side or the output side, so using some sort of speech recognition for easy input of information or receiving different types of text to speech, I think that there's many different ways that you can go the accessibility route and add value for users, but it's very context specific. However, I would just look at maybe the different tools that are available, whether it be some sort of speech recognition or text-to-speech tooling, and then get very specific on where you'd maybe want to add value using those tools from an accessibility nature, but without having more specific context of the specific or the specific domain where you want to add value. It can be difficult, but I would say start from there.
Oh, that's great. Do you have any other comments on that, Susan?
Yeah, I do. In reading your question, you have incredible insight, being someone who is blind with hearing aids. So your input is incredibly valuable. And the more like having you here, thank you for coming and opening and asking that question, because by raising your voice and being able to help us understand how those things merge, it's very important. Voice isn't a silo. So that's really, yes, absolutely. We need to make sure that when we think about accessibility from a digital perspective, it is the audio and the visual. And so it is a matter of making sure that those are, anything that you can contribute. And this is where I'm going to plug the OVON, because absolutely having you to help us to understand, here are the things you need to take into account, and helping us think through those things is fantastic. And we can start to include and make sure that we're not missing something, because we can try to be empathetic, but it doesn't mean we can absolutely replicate the experiences that you live.
Yeah, that's and I can see Nigel saying they're spot on. Actually, yeah, I mean, I'm glad you excuse me, I'm glad you plugged the OVON, the Open Voice Network, if you're not familiar with that. Fantastic. And I can see that there's a lot of, great comments about this. I see Heidi said, you could be a consultant to every company developing actions and skills for when it comes to accessibility and inclusivity. So wonderful. Melissa, thank you for that.
Yeah, that's great.
Great question. I think it's an important topic, and I'm glad that we had a chance to answer that. So thank you very much. And thank you for all of your comments here on the screen. Awesome. Okay, we are going to dive into the question bank, and this one is from Alan. So Alan, I'm going to invite you up, and he specifically is calling out Megan and Susan. So I think we'll keep the two, or I'll invite Megan back up, and I'm going to say goodbye to the two gentlemen for a bit here. All right, and then we'll get to the question. We'll see you in a bit, Nigel. All right, and I need to invite back up Megan. So let's do that. And there he is, the prisoner, Alan Furstenberg. How are you, Alan?
I am doing well. How are you doing, Terry?
I'm great. Thank you again for being here, and always being an active contributor. Wonderful. Thank you so much.
Always fun to return and chat.
Awesome. I'll let you ask your question. Why don't you just take it away and lead the conversation here?
Sure. So my question, I posted like 9 of them at once, but it kind of boils down to what is the role of small developers, small designers, people who are in the hobbyist space, in the voice space today? Because it seems like there's been a lot of domination from big companies, big players. Is there any future for the small or hobbyist designer and developer? And kind of parallel to that, how does this compare with how the web became what it became and how mobile became what it became?
You got a lot of questions there. All right, who wants to take that one first? I think you were directing it initially to Megan. So Megan, do you want to go with that first? Go for it.
No, for sure. Hi, Alan. Good to see you. So I think the thing that strikes me the most about that question is just the the first bit as to whether there's space for hobbyist or smaller scale developers. And I would say absolutely a resounding yes. I think it's super important to have diversity in this space. I think nobody wins if there are only a few players dominating all of the headroom, and that's the only way forward. So absolutely, I can't communicate how strongly I feel about that. I think it is really, really important. And I think of this, I guess, at a kind of higher level. I really think it boils down to kind of a generalist versus specialist question. And, barring the arguments that yes, like a player like a Google or an Alexa, Amazon Alexa can, go really deep and have resources to do that. But we can't scale with all of the businesses, for example. And when I think of like a hobbyist designer, I think of someone who can be in a consultant fashion and work with a lot of businesses in a vertical and go super deep with them and get very niche and understand the nomenclature, the user experiences, and those user interactions at a really, really granular level. And you become the expert in that field. And ultimately that can help influence where that broader vertical goes. So I don't know that, the bigger players have the ability to get so granular at that scale. I think we can, there's a scaling argument to be said again for a bigger company, but I just really think that the hobbyist designers have this opportunity that the larger players don't have to become the real experts. And I think there are a lot of implications to that too. I think we at Google, we have the resources to work with kind of bigger players, but we don't always get to lead with the smaller companies that are doing just as important work. And we lose a lot of insight, I think, by taking that approach, which again is out of necessity many times. But that's when we absolutely would need the insights from the smaller scale designers.
Great. And Susan? Yeah.
Well, first of all, I hope the little guys can win because we're not a very big shop. So yeah, absolutely. And we don't have aspersions to be a big shop. Not that we don't love the work, but I think that there is a place again for that niche very much. Yes. There is an opportunity when you're working for enterprise as opposed to needing to be a little more nimble and a little more creative. I think is the nice way of putting it, of when you can't start with a larger budget or a larger run where then you can start to be able to kind of move around a little bit. Having worked in an enterprise organization and also being employee number 4 at a very small agency, you have an opportunity to get to learn all the facets that makes you really smart as a practitioner, because in order to break some rules, you got to know them first. And you need to know all the rules. And that's a real huge value that you can bring. I think there is a future for it. I think the biggest challenge with a hobbyist is keeping up. How do you keep your day job and also know everything that's happening? It's my full-time job, and I'm still finding myself drowning at times. So I think that's probably the challenge. But plus, a hobbyist gets to bring passion, because when it does become work, sometimes it's not fun. And that's why that's called work and we get paid for it. But there's also something that hobbyists can bring that is a little more of that why. And there's a lack of censorship at times too, because it isn't always about ROI and all those things. So there is always a good perspective to be had.
Great.
No, thank you for that. I think my biggest concern always is seeing that it's the big players that are getting the attention from the even bigger players.
Yeah.
So it's good to see, and I agree with Susan. I agree with both of you that hobbyists have an important role here. So it's good to see that you guys recognize that as well. Thank you.
For sure.
Awesome. And there goes the buzzer. All right, beat the buzzer though. I think you normally beat the buzzer, Alan. You're pretty on time there. That's good.
I can be long-winded sometimes.
Well, there's the answer. We just need to have a timer up whenever you're speaking, Alan, and it's all taken care of, right? Alan, thank you for your question. I really appreciate it. Thanks, you for
Teri.
Here.
Thanks again, everyone.
Great to see you. Yeah,
Thanks.
Great to see you. All right, so okay, fantastic. Let's go to this next question. This is Roger Kibbe. All right, Roger, we're inviting you up as well. Another regular contributor. So Roger, it's great to have you here. This is what's an industry use case for voice as use? Okay, so I'm gonna say goodbye to you two for a bit here, and we're gonna bring up, I'd like to bring up Collin and Nigel. As long as Nigel's tech is working, we're gonna give that a shot. Hey, Roger, how are you?
Hey, Terry, how are you? What's
I
going
am
on?
great. Thank you for being here. As
Vertical
always.
video always kills me. I'm used to seeing horizontal.
Oh, I think I just invited you on stage again, Roger. So if you get a notification, just
maybe my clone can come up.
that's right.
I make him do all the work.
All righty. Okay, so we've got Colin here, and Nigel, I'm inviting you up as well. And Nigel, I love that. He says, hey, Roger, now on Fireside. Roger can be found on Fireside now. All right.
Oh, yeah.
Roger's everywhere. All right. Nigel, let's see. Trying to read by 2 more times. Okay. Well, why don't we kick things off here? I'm going to continue to try to get Nigel up on stage here, Roger. If you want to go ahead and ask your question, and we can get Colin to start, and then we'll go from there.
Yeah. Just general question about what's an industry where you think they've haven't I was going to say missed the boat, but maybe I'll say it more positively. Kind of there's a lot of untapped potential for voice in that industry, and if not an industry, I'll say what's a use case for voice where there's a lot of untapped potential and amazing things that can be done.
Great. Yeah, Colin, you want to kick that off?
Yeah, I can start. I think looking in general at the deskless worker, so that can be very broad, is a very interesting category. In general, if you look at this type of worker, there was some interesting data put out. I think it was in 2020. I'm not sure if it's been revamped or not from, I believe it was Emergence Capital, a venture fund, which pretty much the main insight was that there's not a lot of making sure that solutions that are built for these deskless workers actually are taking the input of the worker. So it's almost solution built for you, use it, but we're not going to really take too much of your insight into building that solution. However, there's a lot of different companies that have noticed that and are starting to actually build solutions with the end user in mind. Amazing that actually leads to adoption of these solutions. However, I think that there's this interesting moment in time where also the value of voice as an interface today is really in being able to do things efficiently. So when you think of the deskless worker, hands-free in many different cases, being able to do things in a more efficient way lines up with voice. And so taking those two different macro trends of just overall solutions being built for these workers and there being attention around that, and then also the value of the voice interface being able to add efficiency in industry where efficiency is held on a pedestal, I think it makes it an interesting area or category to pay attention to.
Cool. Fantastic. Nigel. You're on mute. Oh, there you go. Yeah.
I'm
Sorry, we're not. Oh, I think you're on mute. Let me try toggling your mic there. Are we both toggling it? There we go.
yes,
I think it's
we
off.
are. Yeah,
Maybe we're both toggling it. Nigel's trying to take himself off mute, and I'm putting him back on mute. Sorry, Nigel. Anyway, go ahead.
I'm in a bad books. Okay. So I think the mortgage industry. I think the mortgage industry is one that I think could really use voice more. I have the pleasure of working with a mortgage broker as a client. And one of the things that I find when we were at open houses, doing some social, was that people would come and they would ask about how much a home cost and what the average cost were. What, some of the, give me some rough numbers. Give me, what would it be if I put 20% down, 10% down, 15% down? And you're looking at multiple different houses. And when he had to pull out his calculator or do anything where he was typing, as opposed to just being able to say it, and being able to say it plainly, something like, okay, 300,000, 15%, 30 years, something like that, like boom, and just keep pushing it out. And when I think about Speechly and the way it just can continue to take the information and update as it goes along, I just see so much time saving and so much wow factor when you have a client. Someone comes in and they're thinking, oh, this house is $50,000 more, but with the current mortgage rates, it's not really that much more per month. And you can illustrate that extremely easily and also demonstrate tech and improve your brand. So I think the mortgage industry is huge, hugely untapped in that regard.
Cool.
Fantastic. Satisfied, Roger?
Yeah, great answers. I think there's probably those are great examples, and there's many more. So it's awesome.
What comes to mind for you, Roger, in the last 30 seconds?
This is a funny answer, but I always think of the music industry, and it's funny because music is so popular with voice, but I don't see why individual artists do not have more voice experiences, right? It's a passionate user base. So why couldn't why couldn't I find out about my favorite artist and my favorite band and what they're doing? I mean, I know there's some people doing it. I know there's a startup doing that. And I know individual artists have done it, but I'm really surprised, given artists and music and things like that. Hey, here's a little snip of our latest studio recording, et cetera, et cetera. I think there could be really cool stuff that could be done with voice and audio in the music industry.
Agree 100%. Yeah, those are all great examples. So thank you, Roger. Great question. And yeah, great answers. I mean, there's so many more. We could probably sit here and do a whole show just like brainstorming use cases, but fantastic. Thanks so much, Roger. We'll see you again soon. All right. Excuse me. All right, I'm going to invite Alex up now. Speaking of sort of music and creativity, I'd love to keep Nigel up. Colin, I'm going to swap you out for Emily in this case. So we'll see you shortly. And let's invite Emily back up here. This is certainly in Emily's wheelhouse. All right. And let's see. Hello, Alex. How's it going?
Hello. It's been a while since I've been on stage, so I'm glad to be back.
It's great to see you. Thank you for joining us. As always, it's a pleasure to have you here. So
yeah.
And you've got a very, very interesting question, and I think you've got two really interesting people to ask this question to here. So why don't I just kick it over to you, and you can ask the question. All right.
Yeah. So I work in sort of the sonic branding area a little bit more than voice. And in my research, I came across Bradshaw and Holbrook, who said that, piped music or any sort of advertising music or voice is an insult to professional musicians and ruining artistry in the name of capitalism. I just want your thoughts on it. Where from the creatives on stage do you see your personal music experience and art and voice, and how do they work together?
Emily, do you want to start with that one? That's a great question.
Sure. Yeah. I actually don't agree with that. I think there's a lot of it's tough to do marketing and advertising and sonic branding. It's just as valid as what I've been doing with classical music. It's just different. And I think there's value in each of them. And I don't think they should be conflated in any way. But I think in terms of the way music has influenced my experience in voice, I've developed a good ear, and I can hear a lot of different things, subtleties in the way sound is produced. And I think that's been very valuable for designing personalities, designing the way a bot sounds, writing, and the overall structure and phrasing of how everything goes.
Okay. Yeah.
Fantastic. Nigel, your take on that?
Wow, I love this question. I can't tell you how much I love it. First of all, I think that music in general, like for artists, they're not using it enough. They're just not using. My son is an artist, and I use his music all the time and tons of stuff that he, that I do. I think you can marry music to anything. Like it's something that just connects us. In fact, one of my partners and I, we literally did a room just recently on Fireside, and we just did a talk on what are you listening to these days? And just the fact that people would connect, and so much came out of that. It's the one thing that connects us. Well, it's not the only thing, but it connects us in such a unique way. And I don't think that there's any rigid there's no one right way. There's just right for you. Some people are going to listen to music. Let me go back. I think I'm so excited about this. I think that at one point I was under the mindset that certain things are considered music and other things are considered noise. But then you look at how people receive music and you see things that just blow your mind in terms of, wow, that thing has 100 million streams. How is that possible? It's the audience. So when you get that, when people get that and you make that connection, no matter how you do it, whether it's Emily, you having an ear for it, or me recognizing, certain words and put together with the particular music, feeling a particular segment, a sentiment, I just think it's just so powerful. And there's anyone who is betting on some rigid standard, I'm going to just go all out and just say, I think they're going to lose. There's just way too much music. There's just way too much diverse taste. There's independent artists are producing music like, oh my God, there's just no way. That's my take.
Awesome. Yeah. Sorry, Alex, do you have any comments on what they're saying or any other follow-ups? Or?
Yeah, well, I wanted to, Susan said in the chat, and I love the idea that we're moving past, all the rest is noise. Isn't that Alex Ross's book, The Rest is Noise? Like, I love that we're getting past that. And so that, I think, Nigel, means we're expanding so that what is used in marketing and advertising is still music, and it still has to be appreciated as music because it is one that connects us all. I'm paraphrasing you to make sure I understood it correctly. So, we expand our definition and all of a sudden it is what is human and connects us. And so being an artist and a musician should be one and the same. Cool.
Great.
I love that. I just, when I read that quote, I was like, I'm going to bring this to the Voice Den and they're going to fight about it and it's going to be great.
That's awesome. Well, if there's one thing I can guarantee, it's that when you ask a question, Alex, it's very thought provoking. So
I try my best.
So thank you for being part of this. Really appreciate it. Good to see you.
Right.
All righty, that was a great one. And great answers. Thank you, Nigel and Emily. Fantastic. Okay, let's have a look at our excuse me, at our got something in my throat here, at our question bank. And this is from Nupur. So Nupur, I'm going to invite you on screen. And this is with regards to examples of voice in healthcare or pharma. I think I'm going to bring up Susan. Maybe you can chat a little bit about some experiences that you may have seen, as well as a Colin. And I'll say goodbye to the two of you on screen for a little bit here. All right. See you in a bit. All right. So let's go to Susan and Colin. All right.
Yep.
Okay. Here we go. Hello, Susan.
Hello.
Hello, Colin. And here is. Hello, Nupur. Thank you for joining us.
You're welcome.
You have a very interesting question, and it's quite a broad question, and I think it's great for people to start thinking about in terms of this particular vertical. But why don't I get the timer going here, and I'll turn the stage over to you to ask the question.
You want me to state the question again?
Yeah, please, if you could just ask it so that if people haven't a chance to read it or if they want to hear it, then they can hear what your question is.
Okay, I get to see doctor quite a bit from last 2 months because I hurt my back in the gym. So that's why I was curious. I did not see any use case of voice in, when I picked up my medication or when I went to doctor or my sports injury doctor. So, and I'm also looking to explore this area in medical for my school also. So I'm really interested in seeing if you have seen any use case. I'm taking my class in health informatics this semester. So that if we can build an application, or is there an application already built, how people are using it.
Wonderful. Susan, do you want to kick that off?
Sure, yeah. So there's a couple different ones. Of course, everyone can point to the Mayo Clinic asking those questions, but more other things that I've seen experimentation on is something along the lines of orthopedic surgeons using follow-ups with patient information. I mean, it's an incredible use case. Having had orthopedic surgery myself, of there you are all groggy in your day surgery, you get home 3 a.m. I mean, Teri, I think you've probably had this, and the pager goes off because all of the information you told that patient is completely gone. So it's that support, and then hearing it in your doctor's voice is that much more helpful. I think some of the things too that come into play is disease education is a very big thing. And actually, when we did the Voice Consumer Index report, you know I was going to talk about that, Teri. When we did that research, we did find out use cases were things like setting up doctor's appointments. Those are things that people want to be able to do. Again, disease education is huge. And that's really good because you don't have to have HIPAA compliance. And that's a different thing, because we do have to think about those types of things of what are we doing that's not giving out any type of personal information or those pieces. There's also all of the guided pieces along that where there's medication information and such. I know that in the UK, there's a lot of really interesting skills. Actually, I have a lot of fun because they get to use all the medication, and pharma gets to kind of go wild and see what's all in there of, again, information, adverse reaction reporting, things along those lines. In the US, we're a little more tapped down because we're trying to be very cognizant of that. But I also know that there's like the whole biometric thing, and I haven't even touched on that. Colin, I don't know if you want to talk to any more things, kind of want to hog the whole time.
Yeah, no, there's so much that can be done. I also think you were talking about a lot of different things on the consumer side, and I think certainly like on the consumer side, there's so much more so many more shots on goal that could be had. But I also think it's good to look at some of the successes, obviously, like with Nuance and the acquisition by Microsoft as well. That's purely almost pretty much on the back of healthcare and their now I'm blanking on the name, the Dragon Medical One solution. So that's around dictation and using voice to make the lives of physicians more efficient and better. So I would say even doing the homework on looking at those experiences and what led to their ultimate success of a $20 billion sale to Microsoft to inform where there might be different opportunities on the consumer side, where I think healthcare is a very interesting area where it's not a secret that it's very tough to kind of crack the nut that is building these different types of healthcare experiences. But that's also what usually means that there's a lot of opportunity in the term, or in regards to whether that's financial success or financial opportunity, or in terms of value that you can actually bring to consumers. So I would say looking at some of those past experiences to inform where there might be kind of the next evolution of experiences is important, because I also think you have to think about not only what you want to build, but also what consumers need and what can actually add value for them. So you also have to bring that element into the conversation as well, because you can kind of think about where all these different types of things that can be built, but also making sure that you consider the user as well, also important.
Yeah, I would say definitely make sure that you're thinking through whether or not you want to focus on providers, patients, or if you want to start looking at pharma or devices or things along those lines. And that'll help you probably niche down and then think through what some use cases are and do some specific research, because everything from Orbita to others, there's a lot of things that have been tried. So there's some things out there to be found. It's just a matter of niching down to find it.
Get narrow.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Awesome. This is such, this could literally be like not only a whole show, this could be like a whole month of shows when you talk about healthcare and voice. I know Alan had said just my take on this. I don't really do this, but I'll just say very briefly, like what you two said was bang on. As a physician, like I'm really excited that I think that because voice assistants are so cheap, it's actually going to become the hub of a patient's whole healthcare journey. It's going to become their own private clinic in their home, personalized, decentralized, to provide access to information, diagnosis, treatment, the whole bit. And it's just super, super exciting. And you touched on we could go on forever about this, but really great question. Yeah, absolutely. It's really exciting. I think it's a huge opportunity for transformation of healthcare. Okay, awesome. Thank you so much for your answer. I think we'll have time for one more question. We've got one more question there. And so for this one, I want to bring up Megan and Emily, and it's Chaim that's answering or asking this question. So let me invite you up on stage. I'm going to say goodbye to Susan and Colin for now. So thank you. And then we have one more question to go. So let me invite up Megan and Emily. All right. And hello, Emily again.
Hello.
Hello.
And we've got Megan and Chaim. Welcome. Great to have you
Good morning,
here.
everybody.
What time is it where you are?
Nearly 4 o'clock, 4 a.m.
Are you in Israel?
Yeah, Israel,
Wonderful.
Netanya.
Well, thank you for joining us from over on the other side of the world. It's a real pleasure to have you here.
Yeah.
I would love for you to share your question with these ladies, and then we can get their take on it. Okay.
So the question is how you can deal with different languages, different accents. My accents, for example, I know it's awful, but that's what I have. And misfunctions in speech. Some people can hardly speak, and pronunciation not give them ability to speak with Siri or Alexa or any kind of these smart home devices. How you can deal with this? The essence in this issue is that you divided all the speech into letters, into very small sounds of ABC, and then combined them back. And some people cannot express every letters because of cultural or medical differences.
Absolutely. It's a fantastic question. I know that Google's done a lot of work with this, with languages and different accessibility stuff. So Megan, do you want to kick off that and maybe talk about Google's approach, if you can, or your own personal opinion on that?
Yeah, absolutely. No, this is such an important question. I think it's a big challenge in the industry broadly. And obviously, it's an accessibility question, an internationalization question, et cetera. I can just speak from my experience. I actually worked in this speech vertical where we do the data licensing to help enable fluency in multiple languages. Assistant can currently engage in, I believe, 30 languages today. And there are many, many more languages in the world than 30. So there's a lot of work to be done. There is a focus, I can say, internally right now on both expanding the language offerings as well as improving the existing language offerings. You bring up a really important point around accents, for example. We actually are, there's a whole team dedicated within our data acquisition team within the speech vertical toward finding great sources of recorded, accented language and trying to use that to improve our machine learning to help facilitate better engagement with the assistant in an accented English, for example. But I think at the end of the day, there's just a lot of work still to do, and it's a big focus area. We want this to be something that's available and able to be engaged with by all types of people. So I know in the last year, we've developed a bunch of tools and data sets to help identify and carve out these biases in our ML models. And we're offering these as kind of open source for the larger community as well. But it's a big focus area for sure.
And Emily, do you have any thoughts on that, or even as a conversational designer, do you take this into account, or what are your sort of thoughts on that?
Yeah, absolutely. When we're, I guess, writing training phrases or trying to train the bots, we try to take from as many diverse group sets as we can, so that we're inclusive of everyone. And particularly in regards to voice, I know Mozilla Common Voice is doing a lot of great work with open source inclusivity and getting people from all different types of languages and places all over the world. And they're doing great work with that.
Fantastic. Great. Yeah, Chaim, it's such an important question that you ask. And yeah, it's great. The biggest thing I think is just having these conversations, quite frankly, and just continue to bring awareness to it. So I really appreciate this question, and it's such an important one. So thank you for that, Chaim. Any other final comments?
Thank you too.
All right.
Well, thanks for the question.
Yes, and thank you for joining us from all over the other side of the world. Shalom, and talk to you soon.
Shalom.
All right.
See you soon.
See you soon. Okay, wonderful. Well, thank you, Emily. Thank you, Megan. I'm going to say goodbye to two of you so I can do a couple of wrapping up housekeeping things here, but thank you so much for the answer. What a great question to end with, so thank you. All right. So we have, as always, we have to introduce our Voicefluencers for the next session, for session 17. And as always, I'm really excited about these. We've got another fantastic lineup, a very diverse lineup for session 17. So without any further ado, here are our Voicefluencers for session 17. All right, there you go. So that is coming up next month. Super excited for that. If you want to save your spot, you can actually hit that button right there and save your spot for Voiced 17. And I love seeing all the comments there about the coming up Voicefluencers. It's great. It's great. All right. Last but not least, as you know, we do these spatial audio augmented reality rooms. And I just want to give you a quick reminder that when you go over there, this is like you are immersed in a video game. And have some headphones on if you can, because it's going to make this a really immersive experience, truly immersive experience. There's a joystick that you're going to be able to see on your screen if you're using a laptop. You can use the arrows. You can zoom in and out. You can absolutely manipulate the world in 3 dimensions. Walk around, see what's going on, explore the space, watch out for secret NFT drops. You can talk to me about that in the space if you want to do that. And again, I just want to give a huge shout out to Audio Brain and Spatial Web, who power the augmented reality space with the audio, the sonic branding, and the actual platform. So there we go. The link to get into the augmented reality space is, I'm going to type it up for you, this one, thevoiceden.live. thevoiceden.live. That is where you go, and I'm going to see you there. Thank you to everybody that was part of this. Thank you to our 5 Voicefluencers, Emily, Colin, Nigel, Megan, and Susan. Thank you. Without you, this wouldn't have been possible. Thank you to everybody who asked a question. Thank you to everybody in the audience. Thank you to our sponsors, Amazon Alexa and Google Assistant, our headliner sponsors, and we will see you next month. But before then, I want to see you over in the VoicedN augmented reality space, thevoiceden.live. I'll see you there shortly. Thanks, everybody. Talk to you soon.